Probably gonna move it over.
Well, you have to adjust it because I can't see it.
It's always a little crooked. Hello, everybody. We're gonna share the video out real quick to a few places just to get some the word out. Is this one here? Are you sharing to Blacklist page?
Yeah, I can.
We got some cool things to show off today, and a few updates. Okay. We have like 0 viewers, so
We got time.
We might wait a couple minutes. They're making a Blood Bowl 3 video game. Today we have a bunch of samples from the factory for both Street Masters Aftershock and actually some Alter Quest stuff, which will be interesting to look at. For Street Masters, we have last time we showed off some of the cards and the book, the lore book.
Yeah.
And this week we have. Last week we had some things going on, so we weren't able to stream. But this week we got the. Last week we also got the boxes for all the product, and there'll be some interesting changes from people who might be familiar with the original Street Masters print run. Might wait a couple more minutes, but before we start showing it off, but we'll start with the Street Master stuff. So
These
go
are
ahead and grab the base game. This is just samples. So here's the base game box. Not much has changed from this. I don't think anything changed from the cover. Punch board and stuff in here.
Yeah,
we got the updated rule book. This includes all the errata from the first print run and some clarifications. Punch board.
Did you mention the material?
What's that?
The new material?
Oh yeah, the book is actually on a nicer material.
It's almost like
now.
double the thickness, which is great because I was kind of like bummed out. The last one was a little more lightweight than I was hoping. This one's definitely bulked up.
Hey, William. And then we have all the map tiles.
Yeah,
Same
none of these got changed or routed or anything, so these are mostly all the same, and they're just kind of the production proofs, so they're not final, but they're pretty close.
Now, what did change about the base game though is we have some cool new ads on the side here. We got Brook City there, and we have the Aftershock expansion.
Now this is really new, we'll start the stretch goal box from the Kickstarter. So now we were having some issues with last year at Gen Con at our booth. People would buy the all-in pledge. There's I think Adam's grabbing the old
example of what the old stretch goal box looks
like. So imagine, that's the same size as the core box. So imagine trying to get 4 of those boxes from your from the booth, Blacklist booth to your car. So we made sure to take that into account. So now pretty much half the depth for the stretch goal box. So it'll still fit all the same content, obviously, and because there's a lot of empty space in the old box because we all had the standard size boxes for all the products.
We weren't sure how much space all this stuff would take up. So obviously, when we saw the final product, there's quite a bit of empty space. So.
Yeah, a couple sheets of punch board. Again, these didn't change at all. Just the box change. We get the new Brook City on the side, and oh yeah, there's Aftershock now since Aftershock's a thing, retroactive. So that is the stretch goal box. Similar story with the other Kickstarter exclusive expansion, The Legend of Oni. Again, no big changes here on the content, just a new box size. Still the same content, same graphics and everything. And we got a couple sheets of punch board, one sheet of punch board, and I think it was two map tiles. So that's Legend of Oni. Very happy with these box sizes. Much easier to store everything. And then twin side wave 1. In addition to Adam already showed the tuck boxes there for Redemption, and those two.
I think before it was like.
So this is all Street Masters Wave 1 now. Could probably easily fit in one of our new Blacklist.
No.
Or 2 of our Blacklist bags. I didn't mean one. I meant like this right here would fit one bag, and you could just hold this to the side. So a lot easier to sell at conventions, which is great. So that's wave 1 right there. A lot more reasonable to deal with. Now here's the new stuff, minus the Aftershock Deluxe box, because we're waiting on that one. It's getting close, but
yeah, they're still finalizing that, going back and forth with Blacklist. It's just to lock in all the details. But
here's all the cardboard for the Aftershock box plus the rules. So the rule book, we already had that. It's just it's a fold out. Pretty brief, but it covers all the new stuff. We got the colored defense tokens, which were heavily requested, and there's more of these in the stretch goal box.
Yeah, these are just the 5 values you see on the back there.
Yep, and the mission tokens and the new act phase tokens for simultaneous play. The new map tiles came out great, very colorful. Love the new stages. So that is all the punch board for Aftershock, and we'll be getting the. And we've already seen the cards. We'll be getting the box pretty soon, I think.
And Blacklist has been handling the miniatures, getting feedback for those. I think they're going to share some pics in one of the updates, but they're going back and forth to the factory, making sure those all look good.
Now, for the Aftershock stretch goal box, because you guys unlocked so much stuff, we have to keep this box size because there's just too much in there. There's a ton. Like, I think they were talking to Blacklist about the cards. I think the cards go from box end to box end. Like, it's completely full of cards. So that's pretty impressive. But there's a lot of punch board here too.
Just so here's the back of the stretch goal box. Which shows some of the stuff you've unlocked.
And here's all the map tiles and punch board. So you unlocked 8 stages. So that's 4 new map tiles and 2 sheets of color. These are pretty much replace your old power tokens and defense tokens. So now you have colored ones to differentiate them when you're playing.
Those were much requested. So.
Yeah, those were one of the stretch goals. Stretch goal rule sheet, which is nice. Shows you all the content in there. And then here's all the punch board for all your rivals and allies. Some of the enemy deck tokens, and
this is also cool because a lot of people might have wanted this for Brook City or the first wave of Street Masters. This kind of tells you everything you should expect in the stretch goal box. So it'll be a lot easier for you to make sure you got everything.
Yeah, to do a quality check. All right, that's the Aftershock box, stretch goal box. Oh, excuse me. Love that logo.
This one is the Essence of Evil expansion that came with the Kickstarter pledge for Aftershock. There's the front of the box, there's the back, everything included in there.
Rule sheets in there with the punch board.
Again, it's a smaller box size for the expansion. There's your rule sheet. Not a whole lot of information on this one. Tokens. We got those tokens for the Surge. One of the stages. Right?
That's for the enemy deck. Yeah,
enemy deck, sorry. And then map tile of the Rainstorm.
And this is the only
fire.
This is the only thing we caught when in reviewing, which is good. It's good.
Yeah, we got physical proofs of this for
but
catching.
there's we're missing an icon in the middle there. That's where the boss starts. It's supposed to be a boss start space icon, which is right there. So we're having them fix that one. We got the PDF and everything fixed and updated. So other than that, though, it all looked fantastic. I love the new stage styles that came out great. And then also, this is a really heavily requested item that Adam and I were very reluctant to add on. We just knew the work involved for this, but it was very requested.
There's too many bosses in the game.
We like to please everybody when we can. So this is the Redemption 1. This is Redemption 2, double the size. This had 6 new fighters. This has 10 new fighters, but it also includes all of the hero stories and the new. I'll show you actually in the tokens. So we have a rule sheet here, which is again something new, so you can see what all comes in there. And then there's also the tokens for all of the different fighter deck tokens. So you have the afflictions here for Tezzatotl. You got the blood tokens for Celine, and mercy tokens for Mac, and Tendril tokens for Project X. You have all the fighter tokens that you'll swap out for the figures most likely if you ever have like a mirror match and you want to use at the same time. You also have, this is a nice surprise. We didn't talk about this during the Kickstarter, but it was people really wanted core set fighters as rivals and allies. So in the Essence of Evil box, you have Kyoryu. He's the rival ally. So there's 1 from the core set, and we have Gabriel, Natalia. That's 3. Brandon, Yinghua, and Megan. So that's all the core set fighters now as rivals and allies across our products. So if you manage to snag Essence of Evil and the Redemption 2 expansion, you'll have those rivals and allies now from the core set. But we also have a minor thing in here. We had a couple samples of what we wanted the plastic dividers to be. So they give some options here. We chose the heavier one, obviously, very durable. You have it's gonna be 90. I think it was 94 or 93 of these in the Aftershock box. It's a lot of dividers, so it's gonna be a heavy box.
All right, not all the Street Master stuff.
That is all our Street Masters stuff, I guess.
So again, we'll be doing, we'll get the box in later. I'm not sure when, but that's like the last box they're working on. Make sure it's what we want. And when we get that sample, we'll show it in a live stream as well. And I'm sure we'll feature it in an update with several photos.
We should mention though, now that everything's been approved, it's all ready for final production.
Yeah, we're gonna hit the print button on this stuff and get it rolling. The other thing that we got to get a little tease at is we got some Altar Quest miniature samples. Now these are for our demo kits that we'll be sending out to a few select people to hopefully promote the Kickstarter, get some other people's opinion on the game, so other people can see what other people think of it besides just us. The thing to keep in mind with these is that some of them are test. I mean, they're all test runs, but these are not final samples at all. These are just like taking this file from the 3D modeler and printing them, basically. Not 3D prints, but it's a new process the factory's doing. So some of the scales are a little messed up, and I'll give you an example. Is with Cedrin and Rowan, the 2 heroes that are in the base game or the demo kit. Hopefully you can see them okay. There's that. Rowan is a little too big. He should be about maybe 25% smaller.
Yeah, that's roughly what a dwarf was going to look like on our scale. So he's a little too big, but his proportions are correct, so it's just a matter of scaling him down.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
What'd you do to him?
Oh, look, he just came off his base. I can fix that. But yeah, this is it's him. Now, I got these myself. We have 4 kits of them. And I felt the need to go through and paint some, just because I wanted our demo kit to have some color on it. So this is Cedrin painted up. I don't know if you can see him very well, but he painted up pretty nice. Can you see that? Are you looking at that on the screen?
It's kind of dark, but
yeah.
But I mean, I think we'll get the idea. Someone asked 32. Oh, another scale, 32 millimeter.
These, we're still going through the final scale on these. And as you can tell, they're very easy to break. Cedrin broke off there. I'll have to glue him back on. But when I was painting Cedrin, I broke his mace off. And so I had to use some green stuff to sculpt a new one. It turned out okay. A little thicker, which is good. We also have things like the altar itself. That is going to be a miniature.
And you can also use it as a cool display because it can fit a little regular size hero miniature in there. That's like a champion.
We have things like, this guy doesn't have a base yet, but this is Bulks, the villain in the demo kit. He's one of the big monsters.
That one shows up pretty well in the camera.
Yeah, I think I was just too close to the ones. And we have the little frocks. So here's one of these guys.
These,
the detail on these, like the material's kind of delicate. It's way more fragile than the final, but the detail came out really well. And again, on these guys, I went through and I painted some up as well, and they look really good painted. Again, I wish we had some better camera work here to see these guys.
they came out great.
And then we have things like doors. These feel really good. And of course, I went through and painted all mine. That's what a door looks like when it's painted. This material for the sample is a combination of silicone and poly resin, I believe. It's not resin, but this is just what they use to do some quick samples because they're not final molds at all. We just wanted to have some stuff for the demo kit so people could see what the sculpts look like. But these are also good for scale because we got a couple pieces in like I think it was a mirror. It was extremely tiny because the 3D sculptor didn't have it set to the actual size in the file, and they just printed it as it was. We also have things like bookshelf. Hey Dorian. Yeah, you should get some serious Hero Quest vibes from this game. There's also, I'm going to show painted and non-painted so you can see what you'd be getting in the game. A fungal patch. So these right here are what we call features. When you go into a room in Alter Quest, you draw a feature card to see what's in there, and so your whole collection of features are shuffled up at the start of the game, and you make a feature deck, and so anything can appear in the dungeon. There's also things like the Blessed Fountain. This is one of the bigger ones. Another miniature with it doesn't have its base, but it's one of the minions. It's a gargoyle. I think those are most of the cool ones. Oh yeah, a locked chest. Can't go into a dungeon without a locked chest in there, huh? Yeah, I wish I could get better shots of these. Maybe I can take Brady's camera, his phone, and hold it down over the table to get some better shots of these miniatures. But this is basically what is going to be in the demo kit. I went through and I taped off the minions. The minions will use the color rings we have the Tree Masters, but they just have electrical tape right now just because I had to mock them up and the base sizes weren't right because the factory just used some standard bases they had for the samples. So those are very exciting. There's lots of changes to go through.
The scenery is part of the core game. Just so you know, the scenery is they're included in all the main game products because the features serve a purpose in the game mechanics. So they're not just like tokens or something that you upgrade into features. They'll come in the box. These doors will come in the game.
The base game comes with a bunch of doors. I believe it's at least 8 features in the base game, and then we have features scattered through stretch goals and stuff like that. But every time, like I said, you get a new feature from an expansion or from a stretch goal, you go to your featured card collection, and when you set up a quest, you make your feature deck, and so you can shuffle up your features, or you can just pick the ones you like and that you want to see in that dungeon. If you played a few times and you haven't seen, I haven't seen this feature yet, go ahead and throw it in there. It's kind of like a player's toolbox. You can kind of make your own quests or just do it randomly. The features. We are are using the same manufacturer from Street Masters or Brook City. We are looking at using the manufacturer we did for Street Masters.
But that's it's different sculptor, right? Or it's a different sculpting team.
The guy who did the sculpts for Aftershock
Yeah.
is doing the sculpts for Alter Quest. So we have two sculptors. We also have a sculptor doing the features because he specializes more in the furniture and structures instead of humanoids.
Yeah, Tim, you
But
can.
the sculpts for Alter Quest are looking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about those.
Yeah, Tim, you could assume there'll be more features and stretch goals. That's for sure.
Yes, features are something that will show up in expansions as well. And like I said, they're cool because they're just a modular element that just increases your collection. So anytime you get a feature, it's just adds the replayability of what you can find in dungeons. And the demo kits, again, like I said, we're printing off just a fraction of the content that's in the base game. So it's going to be one quest, 2 heroes, 1 threat deck, 1 villain deck, a few lurkers, and the features. But in only one of the altars. There are 6 altars, 6 different types of altars in the base game that all use this general altar sculpt, but there's 6 different versions of cards you can use this altar for. The one in the demo kit is the unstable altar, which is kind of like the good beginner altar. It's kind of random and it's a little more forgiving than some of the other altars. But also that's another thing that when expansions or stretch goals add new altars, there'll be new sculpts and new cards that bring in different altars, and altars have a big impact on the game. Would you consider doing a mini painting series using Brian? That's a lot. That's a lot of time for us. I like to paint myself. These right here that I painted. Here's a little. I don't know if I can see the angle here, but I think I'll turn it around. But I'm painting my demo kit just so when we go to conventions and stuff, we'll have some nice painted miniatures to use. But the doors fell down. It takes a long time for me to paint through these, and when I'm painting them, I'm also kind of doing a rush job and just getting them done, not really focusing on quality. But I think that there's lots of people out there that devote their time to making videos how to paint that do a way better job. I'll just paint for fun and bring my painted miniatures.
Yeah, plus there's already so many people out there that do amazing painting videos that would probably be subpar with our setup.
I've actually never tried. The only person I've tried to teach painting to would be my fiance, and she's actually helped me paint. She's painted some of these. She painted the fountain and the bookshelf and the fungal patch. Like she's been helping out paint a lot of stuff, and she's pretty good. So she's had years of practice painting her fingernails, and it transitions over to miniatures really well. Where is Scotty? Scotty I think he's working.
He says, "I'm too busy lurking in the shadows."
There he is. He's there. Scotty is dealing with a lot of QA, customer service stuff, but I'm sure he's going to be swamped in Alter Quest very soon. Kickstarter's creeping up in actually 2 weeks from today is when the Kickstarter launches.
Yikes.
That's kind of exciting and scary. We need to get these demo kits. We're waiting on a few more pieces for this demo kits. We probably need to cut some foam for the miniatures after this, so they'll be protected in shipment. But we need to get the cards, the boxes, and we're supposed to get the dice today, but the dice looks like they're held up in Tennessee, so probably get those tomorrow. You might see some photos of those, but we'll also show them off in the designer chat next week. Scotty Lurker Mini confirmed. I don't know. Scotty will tell us what he looks most like, and of the lurkers we have designed, we'll see what he wants to be featured as. I'm gonna have to glue this guy back on here. Dang it. Ironic that I broke one of these on camera. So I can get the glue real quick.
Yeah, even as on the producing, designing end of things, even when I get Brook City or like a final game in, like a final pledge, it's hard. It makes me almost want to go buy more of it because it looks so good. So I totally know how that feels.
Yeah, if you guys have any question, I don't know if we'll have. I think the next time we feature Alter Quest in one of these will be probably us playing through a quest with the demo kit. Oh, sorry, I'm just gluing this guy back on here. Poor Cedrin. I embarrassed him by breaking him in front of everybody. Alright, let him dry.
We have like 26 people watching right now, which would be a good time to ask. I'm just curious because we always get tons of requests about the types of games people are looking forward to, and I know we're pretty much, on Alter Quest right now is the radar. That's what we're looking at, but we're always kind of planning ahead. And from all the requests we get, I think we kind of get a consensus on what people like, what people want, what they're looking for in a game. Thanks Go the Flow. The Stream Master stuff is looking fantastic. I'm so happy with it. I can't wait to get my copy. I'm just curious if you guys have any opinions about, seeing we're doing fantasy now, what you would like to see next. Personally, I mean, I can go ahead and share this with you. I personally love superhero stuff, and I've always wanted to do superheroes, and I love comic books, and I want to do our own, IP and everything. So it's always like a big pull for me, and I always try to lean more toward where the motivation or where the inspiration comes from. Also been really into horror a lot. So Adam and I started writing a horror novel, and I was kind of going over it last night and just getting more into that also. It's very, I don't know, I hate saying it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it's like, it's like teenage drama, urban horror, but with like lots of Lovecraft mythology and stuff mixed in. But that's something too I'm always pulled toward. So if you guys ever like have, we get plenty of requests, so we're never short of ideas what to do next, but we're kind of in that planning phase right now, so we're always open to talk about what we're looking forward to working on.
James says Brook City is amazing. He loves more content for it. He wants to know what the main focus of Alter Quest is. I would say a good mix of exploration and combat. There's a nice narrative sprinkled in to kind of set the mood, and the scenery, the feature miniatures, and the dungeon boards like that. It all sets a cool scene. The narrative kind of gives you a little extra on top of that. But the gameplay focuses a lot on combat and exploration.
And that kind of the kind of thing that governs all of that is kind of action economy, because action economy is more crucial to this design than it was for. I mean, Brook City and Street Masters both have a form of action currency, but this is much more visceral, where it's just actions. You have 3 actions to perform, so here's your list of actions you can do. So action economy is a big deal also.
Add superheroes to Brook City. I don't know if that would work very well.
Superheroes in a heartbeat.
Sci-fi, but shit based with the way missions, similar to Star Trek. I definitely have tons of ideas for something like that, and I've been watching the Orville, catching up with season 2 of the Orville, and it's been getting me really excited to work on one of those. So that's definitely something that's on my mind. Hopefully next year. I mean, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, sci-fi is on the radar. And mentioned there, Brook City mechanics work well for superheroes. Honestly, that thought did occur to us, but personally, we like to just create different experiences. And honestly, the whole appeal for when we were working on Brook City was that whole movement optimization, puzzling, like navigating the city. And I don't necessarily personally think that lends itself well to the superhero feel, because I want superheroes to feel much more epic. There's a level of abstraction where you could have a very cosmic-based superhero and a very like martial gadget-based superhero like Batman doing the same types of things on a similar plane. So we have ideas of how to make that work on a board, but we haven't seen done before, and we're excited to work on that. That's honestly, that's top of my list right now. That's what I really want to work on. So I have a ton of ideas for that. It plays with the vehicle miniatures. Yeah, when I first got the production copy of Brook City, I set it up, and my son, who was like just turning 3 at the time, he loves cars, which is very bizarre because we never like forced vehicles on him. He just loves cars. But I dumped all the plastic sculpts on there, and he just grabbed the police car and started driving around the city, going wee wee wee.
As far as secret passages found during exploration, that the nice thing about Alter Quest is the way the quest decks function is extremely open. Like, you can do so many different things with it. We have a quest where you're trying to rescue a prisoner. We have a quest where you're trying to escape a dungeon. So you start in one corner, you have to get to the other corner to escape. There's one where you have to go just hunt down the boss and defeat the villain. So the quest decks are very versatile, and you can do a lot of things with them. We have like dead ends and stuff that come up, or we have a ghost that blocks your path and you have to talk your way through. All kinds of stuff you can do with the quest decks.
Super. So yeah, Brian mentions the Watchmen. That honestly would not be the type we would go for. Like I love the Watchmen movie, but it's not
Yeah,
something I would write.
I really like that.
Yeah, I like the setting. It's just it's so unique. I wouldn't want to encroach on that. I like more traditional pulpy comics myself. So
We also want to go over the top with the heroes, so we can
Yeah.
do all kinds of cool, crazy heroes in the game.
Michael, you mentioned something interesting about the final confrontation with Brook City. We had ideas about how to do certain more modular elements on Brook City, where you'd have like maybe more zoomed in tactical elements. But it took we toyed with a couple of different prototypes, but it kind of took away from the flow of the game. And depending on the combinations you're playing and the player count, the game can already be kind of like on the longer end. So adding those things kind of took away from it. But because we have that IP built in, I really would like to explore that because I think I do like that aspect of more personal feel, like up close and personal confrontations. But at the same time, everything we tried from like shootouts and stuff tactically, it didn't feel as interesting in that IP in that setting because it just kind of it almost focused too much on that because you only do so much zoomed up, you know, in kind of close combat with police oriented stuff. So I think there's a way to do it, but what we were implementing just didn't feel right for the game. So there's still other things I want to do with that with the Brook City IP. I want to do more games in that IP and more expansions for Brook City. But there's also I think ways we can do the confrontation stuff in the framework of the game itself. Like we had a Die Hard style expansion planned, which would be somewhat of that kind of up close and personal, like going into buildings and facing down bad guys, but without taking away from the flow of the game, you know.
Yeah, we need to do more smaller games. Something that like focuses on things like that solely would be cool. The one thing that the tricky thing about Brick City is we wanted to do stuff where like you went to buildings. Brady probably said this where you like a building had like a tile or something, but the game just took up so much table space already that it kind of would make it almost unwieldy.
Yeah, and plus it almost felt like its own game. So, and it's ironically somebody just brought this up. Any more thought on the Mech Exo Squad mask game ideas? That's one we're always kicking around. We really want to do a game like that. And honestly, what we were just talking about fits a lot more appropriate in that kind of setting because we have this idea where you're kind of these rebels raiding this fascist military's bases and stuff like that. So it feel much more appropriate for that setting where you have these kind of like infiltration missions where with like a cop setting it might feel more exclusive to one certain case as opposed to an all encompassing theme like it would with the mech one. So that's actually one that I'm very interested in pursuing because I've always loved like vehicular combat mixed with like on foot infiltration commando style stuff. So that's probably what we're reserving a lot of those ideas for a game in that setting. That being said, there's still something to do with Brook City in a similar way, but just keeping the flow of the game and not, hogging more of the table space it's already taken up.
Yeah, Dino Riders was amazing. I remember when I was when we were probably like first or second grade, I forget, but one of our birthday parties, our grandparents got us a bunch of Dino Rider stuff, and I didn't know what it was, but I opened it up and it was amazing. I had like the Brontosaurus with the side like cockpit thing on it, and like, oh man, that toy line was awesome. But yeah, I think that's a very specific theme, but something like that would be really awesome, like a Dino Riders game.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that could be using a very similar mechanical structure as the Mech one, the vehicular combat one.
If we do the mech game, we might have like an expansion, like a beast expansion, where people are riding beasts instead of mechs. The problem is we have so many ideas for so many different cool games, but each game takes up so much of our bandwidth and our schedule. Like for example, we're ready to work on the next game. We still have a lot to do with Alter Quest. It'd be nice if we had like a development team that could help flesh out the content after we design a system, because that's kind of how we worked with them. We were like doing freelance with FFG. We would design a system, pass it off to FFG, and their development team would just kind of run with it and test it and refine it, and then we could move on to the next thing. But with Blacklist, since it's a small publisher, we're pretty much doing everything ourselves. So it's design, it's dealing with manufacturing and feedback for art descriptions and all this, and development, playtesting, and managing playtest groups, answering rules questions, all kinds of stuff. So it takes up a lot of time. That's the one downside of working as a small publisher is that every game is a big time investment. So we're definitely excited for the next one though.
King Bread is correct. I do not have fiber, and I need fiber internet. So if anybody is a high-ranking,
I feel like
18,
King Bread might know you personally
Yeah,
too well.
yeah. if somebody plays Here's the Storm with me apparently because I'm always lagged out. But yeah, if anybody is a high-ranking AT&T professional, please come fix my my neighborhood so I can have some fiber internet.
It's actually why I think that's one of the reasons why we're live streaming at my house now. Is my room is brighter, but also I have better internet. So
I know you tried, King. I know. Just got to push up for the higher ranking officials.
Yeah, working for Blacklist does give us a lot of creative freedom and creative control where we can do what we want to do and keep the games the way we intend them to be.
There's a double-edged sword though because we have to be involved from start to finish, so we can't do like a lot of these pet projects. It has to be we have to slot out like maybe 1 to 2 games per
Especially
year.
when they're these big games.
Yeah.
Like these big games, like Kickstarter games, have a lot of content. It takes a lot of time. But also we're limited with our like editing process and proofreading. We have to find people to help edit that we can trust. But we edit ourselves and proofread ourselves, and that's not the best way because you should never edit your own work. It's hard for you to catch things that you wrote because you're just how it's supposed to read and everything. So things slip through obviously, and we try to avoid that as much as possible. Cool, but yeah, if you have any other Alter Quest questions as we're getting closer to the launch, I think we've covered a lot of the gameplay in our teases, and Blacklist has been teasing things on their Facebook page about elements of the game, teasing sculpts and card types, stuff like that. We tested an encounter recently, and it went really well. Playtesters are liking it, so encounters are feeling good. When we get the demo kit, we're going to do a playthrough video of the demo kit quest along with the people we send it to do their videos as well. Hopefully give us some cool videos for the Kickstarter. And then after that, when we get the encounter tile art, we'll run through the encounter with you guys and show you how that plays and how they function. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go back to painting miniatures and tease a new monster type other than the frogs.
We don't have any sculpts on hand, but
we do have if you look at like right underneath the logo on the cover, you'll see some little pig monsters running down the stairs. Those are Raglanders, and they have Raglans and Ragox in that little faction. That's one of the base game threats is the little pigmen, and every threat deck uses threat tokens differently. For example, Frox will throw muck at you, and their weapons are laced with this muck that poisons you, and anytime you heal, you have to discard threat tokens instead, so it slows down your healing. And Raglanders, they just get stinky when they fight, so they collect threat tokens, and whenever they activate, any character in the room with that Raglander has to do a resist fortitude test to just stand the stench. So you might just take damage from the smell. But yeah, they're cool. The arts or the sculpt's been looking really cool. I can't wait to tease those, but we don't have anything to show yet.
As a question about the add-ons for Alter Quest, ideally very minimal add-ons. Most of the add-ons are more aesthetic things, kind of things they're just purely optional. We want to keep most of the game content to stretch goals that you unlock. Most of the gameplay stuff. We have mentioned before there will be a gameplay add-on. Currently, it's the only one we've talked about. So there's the base game. We'll have an expansion and a Kickstarter exclusive item from. Have we talked about that? Right, we've mentioned it.
We've mentioned it. Isaac Childress.
Yeah.
From the designer from Gloomhaven. Many people know. He came here and played Alter Quest with us. He enjoyed it, and we chatted about it, and he agreed to design a couple things for the Kickstarter that goes into the base pledge. So anybody who pledges will get this Kickstarter exclusive item from Isaac Childress.
Are you going to be able to write your own quests and scenarios? Ideally, we can provide the card templates because the quest decks are essentially what drive the game. So if you have ideas for quests, you'll very much see the formula when you see how the quests are designed, but it's very free form. You can make it whatever you want. So that's the benefit of being card driven. I guess the downside would be you can't. You actually have to have you. You don't have to, but it's preferable to have actual cards. So mocking up your cards with whatever content you want, or just if you're comfortable making just like proxies where you have numbered cards and you have like a sheet over here that tells you what number each card does, but you'll see how the quests work. It's not like a secret formula or anything like that. You'll be able to.
Anybody who plays the game and can mock up cards can easily design quests for the game. That's kind of one of the benefits of it, where we designed it where we could easily design quests for the foreseeable future. So yeah, tabletop simulator. Anybody who uses that could probably mock up quest decks themselves. I personally don't use it, so I'm going to stick to the old-fashioned way of printing them out. Volume seems really period. I'm assuming that meant low. Sorry if the volume is low. But
That might be our voice. I don't know.
are you guys going to be doing demos at Gen Con? When are those going to be posted?
Yeah, so we'll have a booth at Gen Con. We'll pretty much be there the whole time, so anybody comes by the booth can check out a game. We won't have any scheduled events, at least we don't currently, because we're pretty, the staff's just pretty much us. We have Scotty there, he's going to be there. We have a couple volunteers to help demo our existing titles like Brooks.
I think Chance Mitchell might be there.
Yeah, the famous actor / cop Chance Mitchell might be there at our booth. So yeah, we'll be there. We'll showing off the games. We'll hopefully have our painted up demo kit. I don't know if you're bringing your painted ones of All's Request to kind of show that off. And who knows what else? Maybe something else there. But we haven't like publicly addressed it yet, but I've kind of mentioned on my social media, we'll be at Origins. We're still locking down details for that. We should be at a booth, so we'll have a presence there, but we'll share that more as it comes up. But yeah, we'll be hitting up Origins this year. So yeah, I think that's good.
Think about everything.
Cool. All right.
Well, thanks for stopping by, guys. And
work on the stories.
Check next week. Hopefully, we'll have some more stuff to show off. We might be able to actually. I'm not going to promise this, but we might actually be able to play a playthrough of Vault's Request, the demo kit.
We have a question. Will you guys have another Gen Con scenario like last time? We probably won't this year, mostly just because of, ironically, even though we're full time now, we have a Kickstarter kind of sandwiched between the Gen Con and the next project, so we won't probably have anything printed up for this one, but hopefully by next year's Gen Con we'll have everything set, we'll have a nice engine going, so we'll be able to do something a little cooler next year.
And yes, we'll be selling games at Gen Con.
Yes.
Thanks, Brian.
See you guys later.
No.